First bell, you know what it means. So
Sir,
try
I
to
know, sir.
cooperate and I will try to finish it in about 10 minutes, please.
Sir, but sir, one thing, sir. Without hurting anybody, sir. We are discussing on, short discussion on Golden Jubilee celebrations of Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly.
A very symbolic event.
This is what, sir.
Yes,
But
please
it is
continue.
so unfortunate, nor from there, nor from here. We could hear the 50 years of AP Legislative Assembly. So I am not going to speak about the achievements, what we achieved in 50 years or what we couldn't achieve in 50 years. I am going to just talk about what has this house achieved in 50 years. And I think I need some time for it, sir. Please, sir. If any time in between my speech, if you feel like I am speaking and my speech is irrelevant and it is waste of time, you can ring the bell, sir. I give you my word, I'm going to take my chair then and there, sir. By celebrating the 50 years of this house, sir.
Yes,
Sir.
please continue.
It is a historic occasion for all of us, as the winter session coincides with the commencement of year-long Golden Jubilee celebration of Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly. I deem it a great privilege to participate in the short discussion making the Golden Jubilee fate. So many monuments, events have marked 50 years in the annal of AP Legislative Assembly, but the imposing old assembly building has a history dating back to the century. It was originally conceived as the town hall in the erstwhile Hyderabad state. Sir, the work was started of this building in the year 1905 to mark the 40th birthday of the 6th Nizam of Hyderabad, Mehboob Ali Pasha. It was completed in the year 1913, sir. This white gem of Hyderabad's architectural splendor mirrors a blend of Rajasthani and Persian architecture. More than that, it symbolized the transition to modernity and nascent democracy during the Nizam's ostensible feudal era. After the military action that ended the Nizam's rule and heralded Hyderabad integration with the Indian Union in September 1948, the Town Hall housed the first assembly of Hyderabad state. The 1952 general election, Town Hall, the first assembly of Hyderabad state after the 1952, sir, the general elections in which Mr. Budugulu Ramakrishna Rao became the first chief minister of Hyderabad state. A new era began when the Telangana region of erstwhile Hyderabad state was merged with Andhra state to form Andhra Pradesh. It was the first state in the country to be formed on linguistic basis. A gentleman's agreement was signed between the leaders representing the two regions before Andhra Pradesh came into being on November 1st, 1956. When the assembly of the newly created state was formed, the town hall of the erstwhile Nizam state became the new symbol of democracy. Much has happened in the last 50 years. Suffice to say that though we have traversed a long distance on the way to a truly democratic polity, the problems that the state and the people face almost remain the same. Sir, when we had a meeting over the celebration of the 50 years of AP Legislative Assembly, sir, after finishing the meeting, I had a chance to go and sit in the AP Legislative Library. Very interesting thing I found, sir. Sir, it is in the thing that I found that, sir, when the members of the newly constituted first AP Assembly were being sworn in, the then freedom fighter and MLA, Vavila Gopala Krishnaya, sir, Vavila Gopala Krishna, moved an adjournment motion on the first day, sir. On the first day, sir. And the pro tem speaker said, that today is the swearing-in ceremony. Sir, and then Mr. Vavila Gopala Krishna said, we are sent here by the people to raise the people's problem and the people's issues. And my adjournment motion is about the rising price and its impact on the poorest section of the society. So this is more important than the swearing-in ceremony. And the pro tem speaker gave the permission then to Vavila Gopala Krishna to speak on this adjournment issue, sir. So this was the commitment, sir. This was the commitment then. And I'm sorry to say, we just have seen the commitment as to what we have. I'm not criticizing on anybody, sir. Poverty, employment, illiteracy, prevalence of epidemic and lack of civic amenities are all issues that have dominated politics and governance in the state over the last 5 decades. Before I go into specific, I would like to recall that. I would like to recall some more interesting things, sir. The Chanchal Sarkar, a well-known journalist and a former director of the Press Institute of India, wrote in 1972 on the occasion of Silver Jubilee of Indian independence of the Parliament, sir. Then he wrote, I quote, if 5 billion words were uttered by the honorable members in the first Lok Sabha and 8 million words were uttered by honorable members in the 4th Lok Sabha, it does not signify the progress of Indian democracy. So now we all should also see, sir, how many words are we speaking here in this house. Chanchal Sarkar was referring to the quantitative aspect of parliamentary debates and not to qualitative aspects. I'm sure that Sarkar, who passed away recently, would have reframed his observation if he were alive till 2007 to comment on the functioning of legislatures on the occasion of the Diamond Jubilee of AP Legislative Assembly, sir, of Free India, by pointing out the quantitative and qualitative decline in the functioning of legislative pillars in Indian democracy. The tragedy today is that no debate or discussion is allowed to take place with the opposition forcing frequent adjournment of the parliament or the state legislatures. Many a time, the ruling party also creates a situation where the function of the house is disrupted and the government of the day is saved. The embarrassment of cutting a sorry figure of burning issues concerning the people at large. Both ways it is the functioning of the legislators that gets affected and the problems of people are hardly debated and the solution evolved on the floor of the house. In the last 5 decades, many illustrious men and women have served as members of AP Legislative Assembly. Among the chief ministers, we had towering personalities such as Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, Kasu Brahmanan Reddy, Dr. Mari Channa Reddy, and N.T. Rama Rao. They have left an indelible mark on the history of the state and the legislatures. This august house has seen many towering personalities in the opposition ranks too. The list includes stalwarts like Ravi Narayan Reddy, Puchalapalli, Sundaraya, Trimila Nagi Reddy, N.G. Ranga, Vavila Gopala Krishna, and P.V.G. Raju. Among those who have made their mark in the end of the assembly, one can recall the contribution of Sardar Guttu Lachanna and S. Jaipal Reddy, and my father, MIM leader Sultan Salahuddin Owaisi, who got first elected in the assembly in 1962. My father served the house for 5 terms, or a record of 22 years, till his election to the Lok Sabha in 1984. Incidentally, my party has been representing continuously for the past 43 years since 1962, sir. And the party's strength has ranged between 3 to 5 members since 1967. Though our party members have been elected from state capital, we have been making efforts to highlight not only the problems of the people of the city and the state, but also the issues concerning the minority, more particular Muslim communities. Here I may point out the representation of Muslim minority in the House has remained more or less the same level as 50 years ago. For instance, the number of legislators from the minority community elected to the House have ranged between 9 members in 1962, 1967, 1978, 1983, and 1989 to 10 members in 1955, 85, and 94, and 11 members each in 1999 and 2004. It was also once that 13 Muslim members were elected to the Assembly in 1972 when Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Chief Minister, sir. It is a matter of main political parties which swear by secularism and emphasize the need to bring the minorities into national mainstream to ponder whether the low representation of minorities in successive assembly reflects the lack of action on the parties towards empowerment of the minority. I am only suggesting that the political parties must ensure tickets to large number of leaders from the minority and ensure that they get elected to the House to highlight the problems of the community in the effective manner, sir. Coming to the larger issues concerning the function of the state legislature, sir, my experience over the past 6 years, first as a member and later as the floor leader of MIM, has not been quite encouraging, sir. There was a time when the House used to debate important issues of the day in the most peaceful manner. Both the ruling party and opposition members contributed to the healthy debate with the view of finding solutions to the problems. Long ago, when the leader of the House, that is the Chief Minister, rose to speak, there used to be a pin drop silence. Similarly, scuttling a discussion. In those days, no attempts were made to hijack the debate or indulge in mudslinging of the name of raising an issue, sir. But the current situation does not inspire confidence. If I may say so, the decline in functioning of this August House began more than 2 decades ago in 1983, to be precise. What we witness today in the House is something which should make us hang our heads in shame when we go to the people whom we represent. The assembly is turned into a political battlefield these days, with the ruling party and the main opposition party seeking to fight their partisan battles in the House. Issues concerning the people are pushed aside despite being cleared by Business Advisory Committee. What is the credibility the Business Advisory Committee is having, sir? We have a meeting before the session commences, or in between the session commences, we have a Business Advisory Committee meeting. What is the credibility, sir? The credibility of the Business Advisory Committee is also getting lost. This is a serious issue of concern, sir. Instead, the proceedings of the House are more often disrupted on trivial issues, which are of importance only to the ruling party or the main opposition party. The floor of the House is more frequently used to pursue the partisan agendas of 2 main parties or to settle the personal scores of their leaders. Partisan agenda and personal vendetta rather than the interests of people and the state dominate the functioning of the main parties, sir. As the Honorable Speaker of Lok Sabha today, sir, pointed out in his address at a seminar, it has become a customary for some party to disrupt the normal functioning in a premeditated and deliberate manner so as to scuttle the meaningful discussion on the issues concerning the people. Members raising slogans, rushing into the well of the House at the slightest opportunity is a common occurrence in our assembly too, sir. We, the members of AP Legislative Assembly, may not be as bad as worse than our counterparts in the Legislative Assembly of some other states in Hindi Belt or elsewhere, where brawls and violences are common occurrence, sir. The end result of mayhem of the creating of political parties on the floor of the House is literally for all to see, with live telecast beamed to the people by the TV channels and cable networks. Sometimes members resort to protest and unparliamentary behavior, mostly to catch the attention of TV cameras. In the last few sessions, much of the listed agenda of the House finalized in Business Advisory Committee could not be transacted due to the frequent disruption and diversions. In earlier years, only a rare occasion adjournment motion used to be moved by the opposition parties to suspend the listed business of the House, have discussed on the matters of urgent public importance. But now it has become a customary to have adjournment motion moved by 5 or 6 party every day, sir. Every day. When the motions are rejected by the chair, the main opposition party resorts to disruption, thereby stalling the business of the House. And the commission takes away the precious time of the House, with the result that the question hour and the 0 hour are affected. Moreover, most of the call attention notices under Rule 74 and 304 are hardly taken up. For days they are listed in agenda, but ultimately they are not taken up due to lack of time. Needless to say, the time of the House is taken up by non-issues. Time management in the House has thus become a problem for everyone. And the worst affected in this tug of war between the ruling party and the main opposition party are we, the smaller parties. It is quite frustrating for the member of the smaller parties like us to raise the issue concerning to our constituencies or the people of the state at large due to diversion and interruption. A large number of budgetary demands are hardly discussed and get guillotined by the chair in every budget session. The government bills are passed with much difficulty and on severe occasion without any debate or a quorum also. It is not that I am blaming the ruling party or the main opposition, sir. For this sad state of affairs, every one of us are responsible for this one reason or the other, but we cannot allow this situation to continue indefinitely. We have to put a stop to somewhere and see that the assembly transacts its listed agenda every day without fail. For this, all the political parties and members have to resolve to facilitate healthy debates and discussion in the House to allow others to raise matters of public importance under Rule 74 and 304 and to go about work in the House with utmost decency and decorum, sir. We have to observe the code of ethics evolved for us, observe the rules of procedures prescribed for the conduct of assembly in letter and spirit, and ensure that business of the House is not disrupted in any manner. A big responsibility lies on us to uphold the dignity of the House, stick to the good precedents set by our predecessors in the House, and to participate in the debate and other business of the House with utmost care and restraint. Let us not provoke one another and throw the House into pandemonium. We cannot afford to waste precious time of the House and taxpayers' money on matters that tend to disrupt the proceedings of the House. Rather than facilitating orderly conduct of the House on the historic occasion of the Golden Jubilee of this august House, sir, let us all take a pledge to bring back the pristine glory of the Assembly and conduct ourselves in a manner that laid by our honorable predecessors in this House, sir. And lastly, I just take 1 minute, sir. I didn't want to interrupt, sir, when my learned friend, Mr. Rajesh Rao, was speaking, sir. I didn't want to interrupt when honorable leader of the House was speaking, sir. But I have got a chance now, I want to say that, sir. Rajesh Rao Saab, he was saying about Nizam, and he used the word opportunist. खुद गर्ज कहा। सर मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं, हम पुरानी 50 साल हो गए साहब हमको आजाद होकर आंध्र प्रदेश बन के। 50 साल के गड़े मुर्दों को आज यहां खड़े रहकर उखाड़ने की जरूरत नहीं है साहब। अगर निजाम सरकार या निजाम दखन अगर खुद गर्ज थे तो राजेश्वर राव साहब को यह भी जानना चाहिए कि वो जिस ऐवान में जिस जमीन पे खड़े होकर खिताब कर रहे थे, ये खुद भी उस खुदगर्ज इंसान की बनाई हुई मिसाल है। ये असेंबली उनकी बनाई हुई है। अगर निजाम was not an opportunist man, he was a man with a vision. He was the man who made Himayat Sagar, Usman Sagar to cater the demands of 3.5 lakh people. In 50 years, we couldn't get the drinking water of the city of Hyderabad. Sir, and sir, when you were speaking, I didn't interrupt, sir.
I will give you a chance to clarify, yes. So you please come.
निजाम सरकार ये बोले साहब कि निजाम सरकार ने रायल सीमा को अंग्रेजों के सामने रख दिया था अपने खर्जेजात के लिए। निजाम सरकार अगर रायल सीमा को खर्जेजात के लिए रख दिए थे तो मेरा सवाल है कि आप सीनियर एमएलए है असेंबली के, 50 बरस के आपके दौर, आपका एतमाद जो आवाम के साथ था, उस 50 बरस में रायल सीमा को आज तक पिछड़ा हुआ आप क्यों रखे? Nizam Sarkar was not an opportunist man. He was a man of vision. That's the reason he made the High Court building. He made the building of Osmania University. He made the Charminar. He made so much Bagayam बनाए, assembly बनाए. Nizam Sarkar is the one जो Nizam sugar factory बना दिए. वो लोग जो निजाम को opportunist बोलते हैं, वो खुद कितने opportunist है, जिंदगी कम्युनिस्ट में गुजरी और opportunism इख्तिदार के लिए आगे तेलुगु देशम में, और आज निजाम को opportunist बोलते हैं। खुदगर्जी की मिसाल, और ये खुद हैं, निजाम नहीं है। निजाम ने विजन था, निजाम में निजाम शुगर फैक्ट्री बनाई, कागज नगर के मिल बनाए, कितना काम दिया। अरे अगर आज 50 बरस में, अगर 50 बरस में साहब अगर आज हकीकत में अवामी मसाइल को एड्रेस होता और नाइंसाफी ना होती तो रायलसीमा वाले नाइंसाफी पे आवाज नहीं देते, तेलंगाना वाले अलहदा तेलंगाना की बात नहीं करते। मुझे अफसोस होता है सर। I was expecting to learn something from the honorable senior members. I was expecting that I would know something new. How to sit, how to speak, and how to behave in this house. But it is so unfortunate that again what I heard was a political speech. Probably he also got polluted with the present system of politics.
Yes.
But sir, youngsters like me and us come in this house with lot of hope, lot of expectation. We want, sir, in this 50-year celebration, we should encourage more and more educated youth to take active part in politics. We should encourage. Seeing this system, I don't think anybody would be encouraged. Because hardly we discuss any important issues. If I've hurted anybody, so I'm very sorry, sir. I do not mean to hurt anybody. But we are celebrating the Golden Jubilee. I have an objection on Honorable Chief Minister's speech also, where he was projecting as to what the government has done. We are doing this, that, sir. We will have a separate debate on this issue of the achievements of the successive governments of 50 years. We are here having a discussion on a 50-year celebration of this house, and we should discuss as to how we are going to take the business in a very tolerant manner. दिल बड़ा करके हम इसको करना है साहब. हम सब जानते हैं कि कितना वक्त असेंबली का खराब हुआ. I thank you very much for giving me this chance and opportunity.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.